we'll be learning about conclusion paragraph. Now, what are some things you think about when you're thinking about a conclusion paragraph?
The ending of the story, like how it's resolved.
Okay, good. Are there other elements in a conclusion paragraph?
Summing it up.
I'm sorry?
Summing it up.
Summing it up, good. Is that what you're going to say?
Kind of like what you said, main points.
Good job. Okay. So, what is a conclusion paragraph? He said the ending, right? That's basically what it is, and summing up your events. So, we're going to talk about some elements in a conclusion paragraph. Now, think of a conclusion paragraph as a triangle like this. And up at the top, it says conclusion. So, what you're doing is doing a conclusion paragraph. Now, when you're writing a conclusion paragraph, the first thing you need to know is to restate your thesis statement. Now, where is your thesis statement? Where does that come in your essay or paper?
The conclusion, like the ending.
Your thesis statement? Your first thesis statement.
Oh, and the.
Good job. Okay, so you're going to restate that in your conclusion paragraph. Now, every line below that, every sentence below that, you're going to recap a supporting idea from your 3-body paragraphs. So, after restating your thesis statement, you're going to recap the first main idea, which would be your first body paragraph, and then so on and so forth with your third supporting idea. Yes, go ahead.
Why would you restate your thesis of a sentence? Because you already stated it and then you talked about it, so why would you restate it again?
Because you're going to restate it in other words beside, you're not going to restate the thesis statement word for word. It's going to be like, okay, my thesis statement is in my first paragraph, and then you're going to recap in the last paragraph.
Okay.
And then the fourth sentence would be recapping your third supporting idea, which would be your third body paragraph. And then the last sentence in a conclusion paragraph should be an overall concluding statement. How I think of that is like when you get a present, or you wrap up a present, what is the last thing you put on it?
About.
Oh, exactly. So think of the last sentence as putting a bow on top of a present or like icing on a cake, right? You make a cake and then the last thing you do is you have to ice it. So I think of it like that. So, excuse me, this is how you should structure your paragraph. Like I said before, your first sentence is going to be your thesis statement, and then your second sentence will be the main point from your first body paragraph, and then your third sentence will be the your second main point, recapping your second main point, and then your your fourth sentence will be recapping your third body paragraph, and then finally your concluding statement. And now when you do, how many of y'all wrote persuasive essays for your speeches? Okay, so what did you have to write for your conclusion? Good job. So, call to action. Call to actions are only in persuasive essays. It's basically just an author's way of urging the reader to do something, taking immediate action for something. I'm a huge football fan, so the example that I wrote, which was from a couple weeks ago, if y'all didn't notice, was Florida State football is currently ranked number 2 in the BCS polls behind Alabama. Please call all college football coaches you know to help Florida State stay at 2 and have Oregon stay at 3 for the remainder of the football season. Now, if you know anything about football, Oregon actually isn't 2 anymore, or 3 anymore.
They switched.
Ohio State is 3. But I made this a couple weeks ago when Oregon was 3. So this would be your call to action. You are trying to get the people reading it to call all college football coaches, because one of the big things when you're getting the BCS rankings is the college or the coaches poll. So they have a lot of say in where each team will be ranked. So this would be an example of a call to action. Another one would be, since Florida State is at number 2, all of us FSU students are trying to see how we can get to the BCS championship. But our president, Dr. Barron, hasn't set any dates that we can maybe miss school for that. So if I was writing a persuasive speech to the student body, I would say, please call, email, or write Dr. Barron to help us get January 6th and 7th off to go to the national championship in Pasadena, California. So that would be a call to action to get the student body to call Dr. Barron or write Dr. Barron to help us get to California. Now, this isn't working, but it's working on the other computer, so it's a short little video to sum up conclusion paragraphs, because conclusion paragraphs, I think it's this one, the other one. Oh, the first one. Yeah. So conclusion paragraphs are kind of easy, right? It's really just point by point what you're already restated. So this video is going to help show you just all together what a conclusion paragraph should be.
Show Mr. Swedberg's 6th graders how to write a conclusion paragraph. First thing you're going to do when you're writing a conclusion paragraph is you're going to start with your introduction paragraph. And if you feel like you understand how to write an introduction paragraph pretty well, or at least you have a basic understanding of it, writing your conclusion will be pretty easy. If you're completely lost on your introduction paragraph, then forget about your conclusion for a while. Spend your time learning how to do an introduction. And then once you know how to do your introduction, the conclusion will be very easy. Because all the conclusion paragraph is flipping your introduction upside down. So you see at the top there we have the thesis statement that is 3 topics and 1 main point. In your conclusion, instead of calling it a thesis statement, we're going to call it a summary statement. And that statement is going to just be the exact same 3 topics and main point. You're going to want to rephrase it so that you don't use the exact same sentence 2 times in your essay, because that wouldn't sound very fluent. Then instead of narrowing, obviously with the shape, you can see that we're broadening, or we're broadening from this summary statement out to a broad closing. You already know that that broad closing is going to be called what? The big so what. Why should I care about all this writing you've been doing? So what? Why should I care? Well, you're going to tell me. Here's some specific examples for you. So that thesis statement that we saw earlier about Abraham Lincoln. His modest upbringing, fascinating career choices, and leadership in the White House made Abe Lincoln one of the most notable presidents in the history of the United States. If I was going to rephrase that thesis statement so that I could use it as a summary statement in the beginning of my conclusion paragraph, I might say this. Thus, his humble beginnings, various career choices, and his time as president, Abraham Lincoln became one of the most influential people in the history of the United States. So, exact same idea, same construction. I still have those same 3 topics, and then basically the same main point, but I've rephrased it just so my paper sounds a little bit more fluent. If we were to look at the broad opening compared to the big so what, before, for my broad opening, I said, some men were born to be great leaders, and some were born to be great learners. I might rephrase my big so what and say something like, Abraham Lincoln's life shows that to be a good leader, one must first be a dedicated learner. Now that isn't the exact same idea, but it's on the same theme of leading and learning. It's nice that in my big so what, I took that theme and I went just a little bit farther. Remember, it's nice to, instead of telling them what you're going to tell them and then tell them what you told them, it's nice to actually take your reader to a new place. Think of it like a river where that big so what actually gives them something a little bit more than what you told them in the very first sentence that you were going to be, but that was your theme. So hopefully that helps you feel.
Okay, so now that y'all understand what a conclusion paragraph is, we're going to do a little in-class assignment. So this is a short little essay. It shouldn't take you very long to read. Maybe it's about 5 minutes. It's an essay that was given to elementary school kids, and y'all aren't in elementary school anymore, so y'all should be able to read it. It has an intro. It clearly states intro, first body paragraph, second body paragraph, third body paragraph, and then as you can see, the conclusion, there is no conclusion paragraph. So what I want y'all to do is read this whole entire thing, and then I will put on the board how to structure a conclusion sentence or conclusion paragraph, excuse me, and you get to write from this the conclusion paragraph. So, I'm gonna ask for some volunteers afterwards, so be ready to answer. And when you're finished, please turn it over so that I know that y'all are done. And if you have any questions, I'll be coming around to help you guys. Are there any extras? I'm not sure. Yeah, that's just for them. So on the board is how to write a conclusion paragraph, like I said earlier. So if you guys need any help, just look at that and raise your hand if you